One of the biggest breakthroughs that we experience on the guitar is when we finally start seeing the guitar as a means and a ways to make music. The more fretboard knowledge we have, the more it turns the guitar into an instrument rather than just being a neck with dots and diagrams that you practice. Hi, I'm Rob from Alien Guitar Secrets. Today we're exploring one of the most fundamental concepts of guitar and of music, the major scale. So stick around because I'm going to show you how the major scale is the cornerstone of all music. And hey, if you're enjoying the content and you find it helpful, please don't hesitate, consider supporting the channel. It helps me to make better content for you. So what is the major scale? The major scale is a sequence of musical intervals. So you could look at it like it were a DNA code. This is what major scale looks like. On the fretboard, intervals are separated by semitones. The major scale follows a specific interval sequence: tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. So for instance, if we're at the G here and we want to create a major scale, and if we follow that sequence again, we got a tone from G to A, then another tone from A to B, a semitone from B to C, a tone from C to D, a tone from D to E, a tone from E to F sharp, and a semitone back to our root, or the octave of our root, G. So we have now, where have we heard that before? It's the do re mi scale. Do re mi fa sol la ti do. So we've heard it before. Maybe we didn't know where, maybe we do know where, but nonetheless we have heard it, and it's the basis of all Western music. You could also look at the major scale as being made up of two identical tetrachords. What's a tetrachord? Simply, it's a 4-note sequence. It's not a chord at all. But so you take the lower tetrachord, which would be G, A, B, C. That would go from the root to the perfect fourth. Then you would jump a whole step to the perfect fifth, which is the D. Or here, you could do it here, and then do exactly the same sequence: D, E, F sharp, G. So you're going tone, tone, semitone, and then tone, tone, semitone. Yeah, and that can be done in all keys, in all positions. For instance, if we went to E, we'd have, which is E, F sharp, G sharp, A, then B, C sharp, D sharp, E. Think of the major scale as a foundation, a template of sorts. It's a tool that we can use to create modal scales, to create major and minor pentatonics, to create chords, and develop harmonies from. Mapping it on the fretboard is actually a little easier than you might expect. If we follow that principle of tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone, then really it's a case of just mapping that out either on single strings or across the fretboard over multiple strings. There's our G. Let's do the G major scale in the open position. So if we went G, then A, then B, then C, open D, E, F sharp, and then open G, A, B, C, D, open E, F sharp, finish on the G. You'd have an entire major scale across 2 octaves. Now, I could use the cage system for that as well, which is a bit more vertical. So start with our second finger on the G here, and we got G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, and then back to the G. I could also use the 3-note per string pattern. So if I start here on the G with my first finger and apply 3 notes per string, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Now, it just doesn't have to be here, in this location here. You could take it up to the 5th string up here, and you would find the same sorts of patterns. So G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Start on the 2nd finger. Start on the 1st finger. Another way I like to map out all scales is to sing out the intervals. So if you're a G, if you number the intervals instead of saying the notes, you could say the notes as well, which is going to equally benefit you by locating those notes everywhere on the fretboard. But let's say you were here and you sang the notes out in numbers. So 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, 6, 1, 7, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Okay, that is allowing your brain to do two things at once, which is to give the notes themselves a number, an intervallic number, but also to locate that number with a sound. Okay, now if we went and said the names of the notes, we would also be locating the sound and the name of the note in the location of the note. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Okay, and that's really important, especially from an improvisational standpoint. Every major scale has an assigned chord. And if you go through the modes of the major scale, you will see that every modal scale has an assigned basic triad. It was we take the 1st, the 3rd, and the 5th interval notes of the scale. So in this case, we follow the scale forward, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, and number them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1. You'll find that the 1st is the G, the 3 is the B, and the 5 is the D. Now to locate that on the fretboard, you might know that that's a G major chord just by its shape. However, have you ever analysed it? This is a G, well that happens to be a B. And what about the open D? Okay, well there's G, B, and D. There's your first triad. Okay, then you have another G with the open G. Then you have an open B. And then you have another G on the top here. So you have G, B, D, G, B, G. Another way that you could play that is you could add the extra 5th, which is the D here. So you'd have G, B, D, G, D, G. And that's a more robust sounding G major chord, as opposed to that, which is rather bright and thinner. Now, that could locate itself everywhere else as well. So if we have the G major scale here, and we looked for a triad, we looked for another G, there's a G there, there's a D here, and there's a B here. Okay, so that's a triad, that's a G triad with the D on the bottom, you got the G in between, then you got the B on the top. That's what we call an inversion. Then that turns into this one, which is the root inversion, which is G, B, and D. And then that turns into first inversion because we have B, D, and G. So all of a sudden, we've got more than one or two. Yes, we play that, but breaking that down is really important, as you can see. Okay. Now, you could play that elsewhere. You've got the D-shaped G there. Okay, you've also got an A-shaped G here. Okay, they're everywhere. Okay, the pentatonic scale, and in this case, the G major scale. So the pentatonic scale is a 5-note sequence of intervals. Now, when you superimpose that upon the major scale, you take out the 4th note and the 7th note. So in this case here, if we calculate the G major scale again, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, you'll see that the 4th and the 7th interval are the C and the F sharp. So you take them out of the equation and you are left with 1, which is the G, 2, which is the A, 3, which is the B. You go straight up to the 5, which is the D, and then you go straight to the 6, which is the E, and then up to the G again. Okay? Now, the relative minor of the G major pentatonic just happens to be the E minor pentatonic, which is the guitarist's favorite go-to. So, now if I don't start on the E here and I start on the G, but I use that E minor shape, now I have a G major pentatonic scale. Hopefully what you're seeing is how central the major scale is to our learning, not just of the guitar, but of music in general. The concepts of music don't need to be as complicated as they've been taught over the years. They're actually rather simple, but the best foundational knowledge that you're going to have is if you understand the principles of the major scale and where those are located on your fretboard. So my suggestion would be learn the notes on the fretboard and most definitely learn the major scale. This is Rob from Alien Guitar Secrets. I'll see you in the next one.